Hello, welcome back to Prosperity Pep Talks. Each day I am sharing a short transmission on sacred leadership and activating your work as a sanctuary for your soul's calling so that your offerings can become a force of healing, magic, love, and liberation. My name is Melanie Monaco. I am an initiated priestess from a lineage of spiritual leaders and female entrepreneurs. So I love what I do in multiple ways, and I created my business as my devotional offering. I guide sacred healers to weave their medicine and modalities into sovereign wealth-building movements that support their most dreamy lifestyle. These are Prosperity Pep Talks. Let's begin. Ironically enough, I intended to go live for my daily Prosperity Pep Talk about 45 minutes ago. I was about to go live, and then the baby, who you see I am always wearing and holding when I do these talks, started stirring a bit, just napping very lightly. I'm actually, fingers crossed, she stays asleep for this whole pep talk. And it's ironic because I was about to go live to talk about sacred entrepreneurship and motherhood. In the past week, I've had 3 reflections, questions about how I navigate motherhood and running a business, a successful business, and a business that supports many people with a very small, minimal team. I don't have anybody on my team who works full-time, and I don't even work full-time. Yet we managed to support so many people. And I managed to bring in income to support my family. So it's a pretty amazing situation that we have here, but there's luck involved, but it's not by accident. I built my business intentionally. So a question that I was asked today was, you seem to embody moving through the day in grounded flow as an entrepreneur and mama. You show up with a napping baby. That doesn't keep you from doing anything. I would love to hear more on how you approach your business and mothering in a conscious way. What does a day look like for you, and how do you show up for it all? This isn't the first time I've been asked this question, and you will see that in almost every Prosperity Pep Talk, I do have my daughter. And if you've been in the community long enough, then you saw me do this exact same thing with my son 4 years ago. So this is the second postpartum. Hello, this cat. Salem's here too. This is the second postpartum experience that I have navigated since starting my business. So to go back quite a bit, when I was in my early 20s, I was nannying, and I remember really wanting to carve out a professional life for myself that would allow me to spend time with my kids, because I was nannying and I was getting like a lot of time with these sacred angels and I, as a parent, was like, I really hope that I don't have to hire a nanny. Like, if I want support, I can, but I hope that I don't have to miss my kids' bedtimes. Like, I hope that I can be present. And even as a child, I remember feeling like I just wished my mom was more present, and she had corporate jobs. And I just really, often that would get in the way of her being able to show up. And she, I think, maybe preferred it that way. I'm not sure, honestly. I don't know if she would have preferred to be more of a stay-at-home mom, or if she would have preferred, if she's happy with how much she worked. But I knew for me, I wanted more from her as a mom, more presence. And I love my mom. I don't, hold anything against her at all. It's all, peaceful in my eyes now, especially because she passed away a few years ago. So my view of it is just very different in the healing that I've done. But I remember just wanting a different experience as a child with my mom. And then I have always loved kids. So I was a nanny, as I said, for so many, that was my first job, was like teaching kids. And so I've just always loved children. I've always felt very maternal. I've always wanted to have children, always wanted to be a mom. So when I was envisioning my professional life, I knew that I didn't want to have a job that would make me sacrifice any part of my motherhood journey. And especially like the early phase, the newborn phase, which is just so sacred. Now, before I go further into describing the way that I set up my business, and you can even hear more of this in a podcast episode I did, Postpartum Priestess, but I'm going to go more about in the specifics of my day-to-day as an entrepreneur now. But before I go further, I just want to name that I have pretty strong opinions about motherhood that I don't want you to assume for yourself or take on if they're not congruent with your own belief system. There is enough mom shaming out there in the world. I don't want to contribute to that unintentionally, just through, you feeling like you have to compare your experience to mine, or that like my way is the right way. Let's just release all of that before we go any further. I am going to share my strong opinions about my preferences and beliefs as a mom. But that doesn't mean you need to believe the same thing, and it doesn't mean that I am judging you for doing things differently. Okay, so as a mom, I really believe that the newborn phase, even up until 1 year or 2 years, is such a sacred part that I, with my son, I couldn't imagine leaving him in somebody else's care until he was about 1. And I was even then, I can't imagine taking him to a daycare. We had an in-home nanny come a couple of times a week. So for part-time care, so I could get work done that I wanted to do, right? It's tricky with entrepreneurship and motherhood for me in some ways, because I love both things. Obviously I love my kids more, but I love my job, and it helps me feel like myself, and me feeling like myself helps me be a better mom. So it is, I have to have discernment around balance here. So anyway, I feel the same way about my daughter as I did my son. I can't imagine having somebody else care for her. So what does that mean as somebody who has been the breadwinner for many years, who runs has made over $1 million in business, runs a successful business, is constantly creating new programs? How does that work? I will say that when I started my business, part of the reason why I got into coaching isn't just because I love the work. I've always been really enamored by personal development and the spiritual industry, and I've always been spiritually inclined. My education supports it, and all of those things. But also the virtual realm, the online space, the digital age gives us this whole new flexibility in terms of how we run business that people didn't have for a really, really long time. And in an ideal world, I think that we would be living in a matriarchal society where we would all be in legit, co-connection villages, raising our children together, making food for each other all through the day. I wish we were in more of a communal type of environment, and our society was structured differently so mothers didn't have to work. At least for the first 7 years, that's my ideal. That's not necessarily that's just not the structure of the society we're in. And while I think there are certainly ways to make that happen, I have felt like I really want to be pursuing my career in tandem with motherhood. So when I decided to pursue my professional career in coaching, it wasn't just because of the spirituality and personal development interests that I had, but also because of the digital realm, the virtual realm, and the flexibility that allows, especially when you consider the course industry, so that you can create an offering once and sell it in perpetuity. And the selling doesn't necessarily mean that you're completely passive, though you can create passive systems. There are coaches out there who just have ad funnels and are completely passive in their businesses. There may be some sort of monetary investment that you're doing, but ideally, with ad spend, it's a return on the investment. And that's been my experience as well. So you can set up a coaching business that is entirely passive income, where you do work up front and then it keeps going. I don't know if I would feel fully great about that, because obviously I wouldn't commit to going live every day if I didn't love it. That would be horrible if I didn't love it. But I do. I love being actively involved in my business. So the coaching industry offers us, in the digital realm, offers us these incredible ways of creating our own lifestyle and creating work that is inspired by what we love and that supports us in doing whatever we want to do with our time. Some of it is having the right education, right? So you need to learn how to create those types of structures in your business, being willing to do the work up front, not knowing if it'll pay off. I've had offers do incredibly well, and I've had offers fall flat. So some of it is just throwing spaghetti at the wall. And I will say, to combat some of this, I sell an offer as I create it so that I get paid while I'm creating it. And that will also determine, with pre-sale phases and whatnot, it'll determine how much work I end up putting into the effort in the long haul. So that's another way where you can have time boundaries, where you're not going to spend a whole year creating a course that you don't get paid for. That doesn't make sense to me. If we talk more about offer development in these types of ways in the Hearth. So that's my temple for sacred business. So if you're curious about that, you can comment Hearth or go to hearthtemple.com. But just briefly, I wanted to go over all of these different ways and ideas that and opportunities that we have, as if you're watching this, if you're a mom, that we have as mothers and entrepreneurs, to structure businesses in a way that supports our ideal motherhood experience. So the question that I got was, I would love to hear more about how you approach your business and mothering in a conscious way. What does a day look like for you? So a day for me, postpartum now with my daughter, pretty similar to my day with my son 4 years ago when I was postpartum with him. I spend most of the day baby wearing. So I'm a believer that mom and baby are one living ecosystem for at least a year, which is why I have not even gone out to dinner without her. I at most have spent an hour away from her at a time. And even then, that feels like my maximum, and she's 5 months old today. So I have a pretty protective viewpoint on the postpartum period and the needs of mom and baby to stay co-regulated and deeply connected and bonded, especially since I'm breastfeeding on demand. And we co-sleep, and, I'm pretty... my views in terms of motherhood are very ancestral, traditional, just moms and babies should be together, and, breastfeeding if possible. I'm home birthing, and again, I want to reiterate, if you were here at the beginning of this, I said, these are my views. You don't have to take my views as your own. And none of this is intended to shame or judge. This is just how I feel about my motherhood experience. So in order to run a business in alignment with these views, right, it has required systems. And the systems have been that literally while I was giving birth, I had people paying me through ongoing payment plans for courses and offerings that I had created in advance that continue to run on autopilot, even literally while I'm in labor or in the postpartum period. So the systems and automations available to us in the virtual realm, in the digital age, are an incredible gift. I also, on a day to day, like, we co-sleep. I have my son. He loves school. I would be a stay-at-home mom for him, except that he thrives in school. Like, he needs that type of socialization. So that's great. And he has a lot of energy. He's a really high energy kid. So getting him out of the house while I work is ideal. If he had a demeanor that where he didn't need that type of socialization, he was a bit more he plays independently, but if he could play independently more and was a bit more mellow tempered, I might be able to make it work. But no, he the temperament that he naturally carries is that he does really well in school. So we get him out the door to school. His dad takes him to school, and Delia and I settle in for the day. And usually she takes her first nap an hour and a half after waking up. And so then I will start my work day, and I'll respond to emails. I will check on the back end of things. Every day is different. I don't do well with schedules in general, which is part of why I love running my own business. I just love flexibility. I love fluidity. I love being able to listen to what my body wants any different day of the week. So today, what did I do? For her first nap, I went on my treadmill, so I got some movement in, and I set up some back-end systems and admin work that I had to do. And then she woke up, and I had some food while she just was playing a little bit, and then we had some playtime. And then I brought my laptop into our living room, and she was rolling around on the ground, practicing her rolling back and forth. And I was giving her different toys and interacting with her while also doing some website updates that I had to do. So multitasking. Moms are incredible at multitasking. I think we have this natural, I believe I read this at some point, our brains actually rewire during motherhood to be good at multitasking. So that's been great. And so I just try to time it with her nap. So again, she took with this second nap, or third at this second nap, I went back on the treadmill, which is great for both of us. I get movement in. The walking lulls her to sleep, and I have a walking desk, or I have my treadmill, my walking pad under a standing desk, so I can literally breastfeed her in the carrier, be working with one hand on my laptop and walking at the same time. So I'm getting my movement in, I'm breastfeeding her to sleep, and I'm working. Multitasking queen. Systems, right? These are more systems. The system is that my movement is built in to my workflow, and I have things that are working for me. My carrier works for me, and that I can breastfeed in it. My work setup works for me because I can walk and work at the same time. So systems I think are the name of the game here. My son is going to get home in about an hour and a half or two. So in the next couple of hours, I'm going to upload this Prosperity Pep Talk across all of the different platforms. I need to record for the hearth. So I did that yesterday too. So every day I'm recording more content for the hearth. On any given day, yesterday I had a one-on-one call. I do group calls still, so I might have coaching calls. And with my group calls, I have a co-facilitator on with me in case I need to breastfeed through the call and she gets fussy, which actually she doesn't get fussy during calls very often, but I do have that support if needed. And during one-on-one calls, I ensure that I have a bottle of milk ready and my husband is able to be on with the baby, but I don't do one-on-one calls longer than 75 minutes because that's kind of the maximum I want to be away from her. So I hope this answers the question well of what a day looks like. How do you show up for all? I think, I try to be in flow as much as possible, and I try to be as efficient as possible, right? There's the saying of don't work harder, work smarter. And so knowing my priorities of like priority number one is being present for baby and my family. Priority number two is ensuring I have really good systems set up to support my business. And priority number three is making sure that I am nourishing, myself, I guess, like, maybe that should be priority number two, nourishing myself through my business every day in the way that I'm doing here. Like, I love doing these prosperity pep talks, doing things that I love in my business to keep me inspired. So not just like, and I also love some of the admin work, most of the admin work too. I think the only things I really don't love are like doing my bookkeeping for tax season, which I only do so often anyway. Most of the time, like even the admin work, I love it because it feels purposeful. And that's a lot of what I think we're able to create in the hearth too. The hearth is the temple for sacred business. It is meant to help you feel that level of connection and joy and fulfillment in every part of your business, so that your business feels like a sanctuary for your soul's calling, feels like a vehicle that allows you to express your most authentic wisdom, and allows you to have a lifestyle that is in alignment with your priorities. I hope this answered all the questions. Yeah, I think when it comes to being a mom, this is one thing I wanted to say. When it comes to being a mom, especially I'm a mom, as I said, with like these traditional, feels like not the right word because then it feels conservative. I'm not conservative, but like traditional values in terms of, home birthing, like breastfeeding, co-sleeping, these kinds of things. As a mom with these values of like deep ancestral ways of being, I think there's a lot of rhetoric in the online space that of moms who have similar values to me as in motherhood, right? This very ancestral way of being, who are like, feminism has stolen from us and has brainwashed us into thinking that we should put a career over our babies. And I really want to try to bring us into awareness that like feminism has given us choice, right? And the ability to do both. I would not be running a successful business in this way, or not as easily, without feminism, like without all of the feminists who paved the way for me to be able to open an LLC in my name, open a credit card, open a business account, like all of these things that feminism has given us. What has brainwashed us into putting career over family is not feminism, it's capitalism. Capitalism tells everybody to put work over everything. So if there's any brainwashing, it's not feminism, it's capitalism. And when it comes to being an entrepreneur, doing it in a way, like we exist in a capitalist society, but I think we can run our businesses in a way that are conscious of the harmful aspects of capitalism, that don't leave behind, that allow us to like really embrace our rights and make use of the freedoms that we have, and hopefully pave way for more people to have more freedom. And yeah, I just wanted to add that piece. And I feel like that's an important piece here, because a lot of people who have similar views to motherhood that I have also are confused about what feminism versus capitalism. So just wanted to add that piece in. Otherwise, if you have any questions, I would love to hear from you. This was kind of like a rambly personal prosperity pep talk, but very rooted in requests from the community. So if you have other questions about how I personally navigate motherhood and entrepreneurship, I'm happy to answer. It is certainly not like, I don't consider myself to be a parenting expert, but I do love being a mother, and I do, deepen my education in how to be a conscious mom and conscious parent, raising well-connected, independent, passionate kids who will help create a more prosperous, peaceful pathway forward for the earth and themselves. I see a comment here. Sounds like intuition with systems and habit stacking for multitasking. Yes, thank you for saying that. That is very concise. I'm learning to lean into making it more devotional. Yeah, absolutely. The devotional piece is really a part of it here. Yeah, intuition with systems and habit stacking for multitasking. Absolutely. I certainly, I don't let other people's ideas of how they think I should be doing it ever influence what I do as a mother or as an entrepreneur. It's very much like what feels true to me and my values and my belief systems and the life that I want to have. We only get to do it. Like we only get to do motherhood however many times you have kids, right? So we're stopping it too. So I only am doing this twice, and that's lucky. Like, I feel very lucky, very fortunate. It's like you only get this season with each kid once. It's so sacred, and if I'm gonna do it, if I'm gonna do the motherhood experience, which requires, it is so demanding and so sacred. And I'm like, if I'm going to do it, I want to do it in a way that feels as reverent towards the baby and towards myself as possible. So thankfully, I feel that I've been able to accomplish that. And I thank 24-year-old Melanie for looking ahead 10 years and being like, okay, here's the life that I know I'm going to want, and how am I going to set that up for myself? But it's never too late, never too late to create those systems and support yourself in any lifestyle you want to have, whether if it's as a mother or any other way that you want to lead your life. So, all right. This has been a nice, long Prosperity Pep Talk. Blessings to you all. I'm going to go record for the Hearth. If you want to join me in the Hearth, I always put the link in the show notes. It's also in my bio, hearthtemple.com. It's my business mentorship that's structured like a temple. It is where we create businesses that are devotional, that are structured to support you in your greatest desires for how you want to live your life. All right, blessings to you, beloveds. I'll see you soon.